Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So let's invoke the blessing of the Lord before reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha सर्व कारण कारणम। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we have been reading from Trinadapi Sunicina by Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. So we are starting a new chapter, chapter 5, सरलता ही वैष्णवता, simplicity is Vaishnavism. सद्वर्गा सम्यम एकांतः सर्व नियम खोदनः तद अंत यदि नो योगन अवेह युः श्रमवः। Ritualistic ceremonies, regulative principles, austerities, and the practice of yoga are all meant to control the senses and the mind. But even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if he does not come to the point of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor in frustration. One may argue that one may achieve the ultimate goal of life, realization of the super soul, by practicing the yoga system and ritualistic performances according to Vedic principles, even without staunch devotion to the spiritual master. The actual fact, however, is that by practicing yoga, one must come to the platform of meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the scripture, Dhyana avasthita tad gatena manasa pashyanti yam yoginaha. A person in meditation achieves the perfection of yoga practice when he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By various practices, one may come to the point of controlling the senses, but simply controlling the senses does not bring one to a substantial conclusion. However, by staunch faith in the spiritual master and Supreme Personality of Godhead, one not only controls the senses, but also realizes the Supreme Lord. यस्य देवे परा भक्तिर यथा देवे तथा गुरौ तस्य ते कथिता हे अंतर्था प्रकाशन्ते महात्मनः. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvetavatara Upanishad 6.23. It is further stated, Tusyeyam sarva bhutatma guru shushusaya and taranti anjo bhavaranavam. Simply by rendering service to the spiritual master, one crosses the ocean of nations and returns home back to Godhead. Thus, he gradually sees the Supreme Lord face to face and enjoys life in association with the Lord. The ultimate goal of yoga is to come in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless this point is achieved, one's so called yoga practice is simply labor without any benefit. Next, very valuable instruction. Here, as a bona fide Mahajana, Sadhu, Guru, Narad Muni has said, ritualistic ceremonies, regulatory principles, austerities, and practice of yoga are all meant to control the senses and mind. But even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if one does not come to the point of meditating upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor in frustration. This is a very valuable instruction. The most conclusive statement is this: even after one is able to control the senses and mind, if he does not come to the point of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, all such activities are simply labor in frustration. Mind and the senses. Indriyani parani arhu indriyabhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. The mind is higher than the senses. The intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher than the intelligence. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said, Indriyanam manaschasmi. The mind is the most important of all the senses. The mind is superior to all other indriyas, senses. The mind is the chief indriya, the chief sense. If the mind is controlled and fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna, then automatically all other senses will be controlled and engaged in the service of Krishna. If your mind is not fixed, not controlled, you cannot control your senses. That is a fact. How can the mind be controlled? Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhav, think of me. Next, Gurudeva teaches control of mind. Activities of the mind are willing, feeling, desiring, sankalp, and vikalp. Accepting and rejecting. The weapon to control the mind is Hari Guru Charana Seva Upashantram. You must fix your mind at a lotus feet of Hari under the guidance of a Guru. And then Gurudeva instructs you. Gurudeva, the spiritual master, is a pure devotee, is very dear, intimate associate of Krishna, known as Mukunda Preshtha, dear to Lord Mukunda. Lord Mukunda, the Supreme Lord, listens to whatever his dear and very intimate associate is saying. If the disciple disobeys or disregards Guru, how can he think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? How can he meditate upon his all beautiful form? He cannot meditate on the Supreme Lord. Krishna will never come to his mind during his meditation. He will go away. Without devotion to Guru, one cannot control the senses and the mind. It is impossible. The impersonalists try to control their mind and senses by practicing Ashtanga Yoga, Pranayama, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi, but practically they cannot concentrate their mind. Their concentration is short lived and mind fluctuates. This is the nature of the mind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna Pramatha Pramathi Baladadhrvam Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayoriva Sudushkaram. From the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than the controlling the mind. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna speaks about controlling the mind, the great warrior Arjuna has said that it is impossible to control the mind, as it is impossible to take the motion of the wind through your hand. Similarly, it is quite impossible to control the obstinate, fickle, disobedient mind. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagya cha graheyate. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So, very nice learning, controlling the mind and the senses. But Krishna says that until we meditate on Krishna and Guru, our mind will not be under control. But if we surrender and meditate on mind and our mind in the service of Guru and Krishna, then it is possible to control the mind. Otherwise, by different processes, is is not possible because mind is chanchalam. So we stop here and tomorrow we'll continue from Devotion to Guru, page number 71. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. So now, next 15 minutes, we'll read Srila Prabhupada Lilamritam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Page number 216. Although Guru Das had been careful to keep in touch with Prabhupada by mail, he had neglected certain important matters in Vrindavana, such as digging a well, getting city approval. So this we read it. Now let me see. One reason Prabhupada chose Krishna and Balaram as the presiding deity was the most of Vrindavan temples were of Radha Krishna, and ISKCON's temple would be unique in Vrindavana. Another reason was that ISKCON land was located in Ramanreti, an area of forest and soft sands where Krishna and Balaram had enjoyed their childhood pastimes 5000 years ago. To celebrate and worship the youthful sports of Krishna and Balaram in Ramanreti was fitting. Although thousands of years had passed since Krishna's advent in Vrindavana, same atmosphere and many of the same sights and sounds still prevailed. Peacocks ran across the sands or sat on the rooftops or in trees, cooing and chirping over the pigeons and cuckoos, and sweep of the parrots' green wings were eternal sounds and sights of Vrindavana forest. In Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead book, Prabhupada had described how Krishna and Balram and their cowherd friends played in Raman Reti and similar places. My dear friends, just see how this river bank is extremely beautiful because of its pleasing atmosphere. And just see how the blooming lotuses are attracting bees and birds by their aroma. The humming and chirping of the bees in the forest is echoing throughout the beautiful trees in the forest. And also here, sands are clean and soft. Therefore, this must be considered best place for our sporting and pastimes. So this is a quote from Krishna book. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, the playing of the cowherd boys with Krishna and Balaram as friends in Vrindavana is the highest spiritual realization, far beyond the ordinary religionist understanding of God. The supreme truth, whom some meditated upon as impersonal Brahman, others worshipped as Supreme Almighty, and still others considered an ordinary living entity, was eternal, loving friend of the cowherd boys of Vrindavan. Only after many, many lifetimes of pious activities had they become eligible to join in the loving pastimes of Krishna and Balaram in Raman Reti. In establishing a temple of Krishna and Balaram, Prabhupada wanted to offer the peaceful transcendental atmosphere of Raman Reti to all people, including visitors from abroad, commuters from Delhi, and his own disciples. Already he had received a letter from major international travel agency requesting that he provide accommodations for tourists so that the ISKCON guest house could be included in the official tours of spiritual India. People were always coming to India to tour the holy places, and unfortunately most of the places were unauthorized or overrun by cheaters. ISKCON center therefore would be very important, Prabhupada wrote. Have a European preaching center and try to enlist all the tourists and hippies who come to Vrindavan. Give them nice prasadam and engage them in chanting, cleaning the temple, and reading our books. Give them all facility for becoming devotees. There was another particular significance in Prabhupada's choosing Krishna and Balaram as the central object of worship in his Vrindavana temple. Lord Balaram is the first expansion from Lord Krishna, and in his incarnation of Sankarsana, he upholds all the universes. The Vaishnavas, therefore, worship Balram for the spiritual strength. You can pray to Lord Balram, Prabhupada said, to help you in your deficiency. As the source of spiritual strength, Lord Balram, also known as original spiritual master. As in Prabhupada's other large ISKCON temples, there would be three altars, and beside Krishna and Balram would stand deities of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, and Lord Nityananda is Lord Balram. In fact, the Krishna Balaram Mandir would proclaim to the world. Lord Nityananda is especially referred to as the Kripa Avatar, the form of God most merciful to the fallen conditioned souls. Thus, worship of Krishna and Balaram as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda would emphasize distributing Krishna consciousness to others. Prabhupada also wanted to install deities of Radha Shyama Sundara along with their two attendant gopis, Lalita and Vishakha. Srila Prabhupada could not possibly stay full time in Vrindavana, yet whenever he was away, progress slowed. Gurudasa, the temple president, had little money and little expertise in managing finances. Prabhupada called him Damn Cheap Babu, a name given by Indians to Westerners who think they have won a damn cheap bargain, although they are actually being cheated. Since Prabhupada did not trust his devotees' spending habits, he arranged for a complicated system whereby he would have to approve all ISKCON Vrindavan checks, even while traveling. When Gurudas wanted to spend, Tejas, the Delhi temple president, would come to Vrindavana and approve the expenses. Then a check would be made out and mailed to Prabhupada for his signature. When check returned to Delhi, Tejas would add his own signature and give the check to Gurudas. Although Prabhupada generally preferred not to burden himself with managing his temples, he insisted on supervising all spending in Vrindavana down to the last rupee. But with such controls, Gurudasa would misspend money, taking funds earmarked for construction and using them for other temple purposes, usually getting cheated by the merchants. After Prabhupada's 1972 visit during Kartika, he was away from Vrindavan for an entire year, directing things through correspondence. With Krishna conscious movement growing quickly on all continents, he had many places to visit. Still, his three main projects, Bombay, Vrindavana, and Mayapur, were his major subjects of correspondence and his greatest financial investments. One reason he did not come often to Vrindavana was that Gurudas' letter had been very optimistic, promising a temple opening by Janmashtami 1973. Surabhi was in charge of the construction and knew well that the work was going too slowly. Yet Gurudasa would write to Prabhupada painting a picture of imminent completion of construction and opening of the mandira. Prabhupada was enlivened to hear the good news and he held Gurudas to his promise, though with reservations. Quote, if you can finish the work by Janmashtami next, that would be a very great credit for you, and I shall come from any part of the world to just install the deity. But now you must work very, very hard to make good your promise to me. Otherwise, I shall be very disappointed and become very, very angry upon you. Prabhupada warned the devotees in Vrindavana that they would have to work diligently, finishing before monsoon season arrived in June, if they were actually to fulfill their promise. But anyone visiting the construction site in Vrindavana could understand that the building would never be finished in time. The temple area consisted of foundation lines and steel rods. Only 3 or 4 devotees were living there, struggling to organize laborers and to obtain funds and building material. That summer was extremely hot, and each day devotees were forced to spend afternoon lying down in their huts, exhausting, exhausted from the heat. Prices for the cement and steel had doubled. Yet Prabhupada continued to respond to Gurudas' glowing reports, encouraging him to continue with determination. But Prabhupada could also read between the lines, and he cautioned Gurudas, I simply want to see that the work is being carried on vigorously, and money shall not be used to pay bad bills. Money should simply be used for the construction. Talk of a temple opening by Janmashtami gradually disappeared, but Prabhupada did not express his disappointment. Rather, he continued to encourage and push the devotees onward, asking that at least his own room be completed so that when he visited in October 1973, he would have a place to stay. When Prabhupada arrived, however, his quarters were far from completion, and he had to live for a week in the home of a Vrindavana friend. He did not remove Gurudasa, but he tried to teach him better management and accounting. He also wrote to his India GBC Secretary Tamal Krishna Goswami to get more funds for the Vrindavana project. Quote, so I have arrived here in Vrindavana, but so far the project is concerned, why the money is so irregular? TGS reports that in the past 3 months you have spent 5,000 and since then nothing. How will the project go on? Inspired by Prabhupada's presence, devotees rallied. They held a little festival on the land, erecting a tent and decorating the foundation post with banana trees and flowers. For several evenings, Prabhupada lectured before a crowd about 50 local people sitting on folding chair in between foundation lines. Prabhupada was determined in his desire. He wanted a temple as much as ever. And the small band of disciples in Vindavana were convinced of their mission to erect that temple. They knew they were building a temple not merely as their own local project, but as something very important for the whole world. Prabhupada set the next Janmashtami, August 1974, as the new ground opening. Surabhi had considerable architectural and construction experience, but he had never worked with such an ornate building before. He doubted, therefore, whether they could finish it in years' time. Tejas wondered whether they could raise the funds in time. Gurudasa was becoming more competent and he assured Prabhupada that they would meet their deadline. Subala had wanted to stay in Vrindavana, but only on the condition that he be relieved of management, free to chant and wander in the grooves. But he had long since departed for the west. Those devotees who remained committed to Vrindavana knew that, at least for the present, the real spiritual path in Vrindavana was one of the hard labor, anxiety, combating the elements, and working as pure instruments in the service of Krishna's pure devotee. Now we'll stop here. Just to time, 6 o'clock. We will read from 222 page number from in February 1974. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So those temple, Vrindavan temple is so nice, but so much hard work, labor went behind them. So we'll stop here. If anybody has any question, correction, chastisement, or any realization? If not, then we'll stop here. Please forgive me if I am not read correctly, and we'll continue our chanting. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhu bhevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.